Hey everyone, I'm going to show you how to wash dishes today. The first thing you want to make sure is that your sinks are clean inside, so there's no junk that will make your dishes dirtier or anything. And then I normally start on my left side over here to wash the dishes and move them over here when I'm finished. So the first thing you need to do is make sure you have one of these to lock in down into your sink. So when you go to put the soap and water in, it actually holds everything in the sink. So it's a stopper. So what I do over here on the other side is test the water, because I like to make sure it's pretty warm to clean the dishes well. And as you can see over here, I have my dishes piled up. And this is just the way I do it to make sure, because I have a certain way that I like to wash them. So I make sure my washcloth, or you can use a sponge, whichever you prefer. Alright, so now my water's good. I move it over to the other side. And I take my dish soap, which I have Dawn, and I squirt some in here as the water is flowing in, and take my hand and move it around. Let me move this over here so you can see it a little better. You get the soap suds going. You clean the dishes better. Alright, so while that's going, I like to put my silverware in so it can start soaking. And when you do this, make sure you do not put any sharp knives in, so they will hurt you, because you don't want to get cut. So I have some regular silverware, knives, forks, spoons, and then I have a spatula, some tongs, some spaghetti scoopers that I totally forgot what they're called. But when it starts getting to a certain point, you want to go ahead and turn the water off so it doesn't start overflowing. So I go ahead and make sure you have a clean washcloth or sponge. And this one I only used when it was time to make sure the sink was clean. So go ahead and make sure when you do this that you wipe all the sides around, all around the sides, to make sure the food's off. And then just go ahead and put it in the sink, the other side of the sink. When you're finished, because at that point I like to rinse everything together, and I have a certain area that I set them to dry. So like on your, I got the spoon here, so you make sure both sides of your spoon are good and the handle. Your spatula, I made sure both sides, top, bottom, handle, are all clean. Same with the forks, and definitely with the forks, you want to make sure you get in between each prong so there's no food stuck in the middle, because that's pretty gross when you go to use it the next time. Then the tongs, you have to make sure you get both sides on each, since these do pick up food. And I like to use these because they're longer, usually for something on a grill or a little further back in the oven to flip, so I don't get burned as easily with short ones, because it will hurt. And you don't have to do them all at one time. Sometimes it's easier, sometimes it's not. It just depends on what you feel like at the time. And get some more spoons and forks out of the way here. This one is, alright, got it. Sometimes on your silverware you gotta look a little close to make sure you got it, because it may be clean, there may be a spot hiding on there, you never know. Oh, here's my slotted spoon. Gotta make sure the inside of this handle gets clean too, because junk does get down in there as well. Don't want to go to pull that out later and bunch of gross stuff in it, and you need to rewash it, because that's no fun. And also make sure in between washing a few utensils, you dip your sponge or washcloth back into the sink to rinse it and get some more soap on there. Alright. And then I just felt around because I wanted to make sure I didn't have any more silverware in there. And it's finished, so what I do next are the bowls. So I go ahead and stick my bowls in there and get them soaking. And I normally don't put this in with the bowls, but I only have one cup, so I'm going to go ahead and just do those together to knock them all out. So when you wash bowls, you want to make sure you get the inside really well along the rim, especially for those of you who like to drink milk out of your bowl when you're finished with your cereal or whatever the case may be that you like to eat in there. And the nice thing about these white ones I have is that I can see around them quite easily, because like on this green one, as I do the outside, I can't see the inside to see if I missed anything. But the white ones are quite nice. But it does not matter what kind of bowls you have, as long as you double check the inside and outside to make sure everything is good and clean. It's always good to go back and double check just in case, because you may have missed something that you didn't see the first time. Now with the cup, make sure you clean on the inside, because your liquids do go all the way down to the bottom, and you want to make sure you clean around the sides very well, the bottom, and along the outer edge here where you put your mouth to drink. Now I have plates, and I have them stacked up where there's big ones and little ones, so I'll actually go ahead and do the little ones here first. Spread them out a little bit in here. My kids like to eat a bunch of stuff, but it's not enough to dirty a big plate, so they go ahead and just make sure they use the little ones, which is okay as long as they either put it in the sink or the dishwasher, depending on the situation, because it may be empty, it may be full, it may be running, you just never know. But at this time, I am washing the dishes just to show everybody. And make sure when you're doing your plates, you get the top and bottom. And check your sides. Sometimes it depends on what kind of decoration you have on them, that there may be stuff stuck on the sides or in between things. Just depends on what kind of plates that your family uses. And usually with me, when I'm holding the plate, here, let me show you on this one. So I wash the top, and then I go to the bottom, but then I also make sure I flip it over, so I know for a fact that it's clean, so I can see it to double check. These are some older plates that we have, but they're very pretty with the silver around the edge. So we like to hang on to those, and we only have about 2 or 3 of them, so we just keep them up in the cabinet with the rest of the plates that we use on a regular basis. And these are Corelle, which is a nice set, but if you drop these, they won't break very easy, so those are quite nice to have as well, especially with kids, because you just never know. But then again, you just never know with adults too, because I have a tendency of dropping stuff as well. I'm kind of klutzy. Alright, so the little plates are done, so I'm going to go ahead and stick these bigger ones in here. And I only have 2. Yep, only 2, so it won't take as long. And this plate is kind of nasty. So I go ahead and, yeah, it comes off pretty well with my washcloth. Good. Because it was soaking in the sink for a little bit with some water on it before I started. Because otherwise I probably would have had to scrub it, which is kind of gross. But it is what it is, so you can make sure you get everything off of your plates or bowls or whatever you may be using on a regular basis, because you don't want to have that stuck on there. It's pretty gross to try to scrub off. Okay, so whatever this is on my plate, it's not going to come off very easy with my washcloth, because I already tried and it's still there. So what you can use with this, I have a scraper, so you can use that to try to scrape it off, which it came off with that, or this back part of the sponge, which with the one I have is green. The yellow side is soft, but the green is scratchy. So you can actually use that, and it helps it to come off as well. So that's really helpful. When you got stingy stains or food stuck on your what you eat on, plates or bowls. Alright, so my plates are finished. I now have a cutting board that, see, with that it's kind of gross because there's stuff dried on there. So with this one, I'm going to have to let it sit in here for a few minutes and then probably scrub that, because you do not want to put any new food on there to start cutting, because bacteria and stuff can grow on this if it doesn't get cleaned well. So that's going to sit in there and soak for a minute. So I'm going to go ahead and now clean these pot lids for pots. Clean the inside, clean the outside, the handle. Make sure you get around the edges as well, because you never know where food could get. And sometimes it splatters a whole lot when you're cooking, and you just don't know. And then get the big one here. Make sure this is clean really well. I really like this lid because it goes with my wok, which that's already clean, but I only used it 2 times and I love it. From Pampered Chef. It is a wok, but it is so wonderful. We had some Chinese that I made in here, and it's so easy. It's wonderful. You'll have to check it out and see if you're not sure what a wok is, and I will have to show that to you some other time, but wow, it's incredible. Alright, and I got this little pan here. It's got a little bit of food on there, so I'm going to stick it in my sink and hopefully it'll come off, and we'll see how that goes. Move it. Yeah, now you can see the gross stuff in there. Alright, stick it down in the sink and use my washcloth and see if it comes off of there. dark spot is actually a stain, so it's definitely not going to come off, but it's not going to hurt anything. So after I finish scrubbing, I like to just kind of move my hand around on it just to double check and make sure there's no food particles left behind, because that's pretty gross. Felt like there was a little bit, so I'm going to scrub a little bit more. And it looks like we're okay. Now it's time to flip it on the back and make sure it's good and clean back here. Because this is actually used a lot in my toaster oven. Alright, wonderful. So go ahead and slip it back in there. And this is a griddle. We use this a lot to make pancakes or fried eggs or anything like that. It's really nice. Go ahead and wipe the top part of it clean. There was just a little bit of egg left on there, nothing major. That came off really easy. Clean this handle off. Alright, flip it over. Check the back. Ooh, there's some stuff back there. Good thing I flipped it over. It's pretty gross. Alright. Wonderful. Alright. The sink's starting to... My right side of the sink is starting to get full. I'm going to go ahead and work on this cutting board. Give it a try and see if the stuff will come off here. Oh yeah, that's sitting in there soaking for a few minutes while I washed other stuff. It's definitely helping. But what I'm really going to need to do is add a little bit more soap, because I want to make sure it gets extra clean. And use my sponge with the green side, which is the scratchy side, to help get it a little better, because my washcloth is not doing the trick. It's doing a little bit, but not as good as I'd like. So, definitely give it a good scrub here. Get all those nasty particles and stuff that's left behind on there. Oh yeah, much better. Alright, flip it on the other side. This side's not as bad. It did not have as much gross stuff on this side. So this is much easier to clean, but I figured I'd still use the sponge since I already had it in my hand. Alright. Go ahead and rinse this in here again. Got a little bit on there still, but definitely not like before. So give it a good scrub. Just to double check. Alright. Wonderful. Looks so much better. Let me wipe some of the soap off so you can see it. How much better it looks. Alright. So what I'm going to do now is not worry about these pans over here, because I have a full sink, so I'm going to actually rinse these off, and I will show you where I put them, because I like to have things air dry before I put them away. So it's a little tricky. Actually, before I turn the water on, let me turn that back off. Take my sponge out of the sink. Make sure to wring it out. Then I wring out my washcloth, move that out of the way. Hang it up here on top of my faucet. And go ahead and let the water out, because it's pretty dirty. So I can have some clean water for the next round. But I also want to make sure it's out of the way so I can rinse these dishes off a little better, so it's not so crowded with trying to move everything out of the way. So what you want to do when you rinse is make sure you get the soap off, because it's kind of gross when soap gets left on the certain items Alright, so if you look over here to where my stove is, this is where I set things to let it air dry. And as soon as I get a few things out of the way over here, I will move the Chromebook over so you can see a little closer where I'm talking about. Alright, so I'll let that run for a moment while I move this over. Alright, so move these things out of the way. So I go ahead and start over in the corner, and I got my cutting board and pan and everything sitting here. So I just continue to rinse things off as I put them in there. So here's my Pampered Chef lid, and I just go ahead and set that on top of things, and I'll get my other lid, rinse that off, bring that over as well, and I try to prop these up a little bit so they can dry a little better underneath so they're not completely flat. And then when it comes time to take care of the plates, I actually lay them down, and I will show you how I do this in a row. So it actually helps minimize space, so there's not such a crazy mess on the stove as everything is rinsed. So all these little plates were actually already rinsed together, so I'm just going to go ahead and stack them here next to the big ones to help these dry. And I try to keep the similar ones together, but if it happens to where they're not, no big deal. Just keep going, line them up how it works best. And I gotta move this one to the side a little bit. Like I said, I like to help minimize the room here, because I don't have a whole lot of space up here. So what I'm doing now is just rinsing off my bowls. I'll go ahead and bring those over and set those up as well. And I try to keep them the best I can to where they're sitting up as well to help dry underneath. Alright, here's my cup. And then when it comes to the silverware, I'll rinse off all the big stuff first. Go ahead and set that down. Make sure there's some good space so they can dry as well. Then all the rest of the little silverware will just sit right here. No big deal, the bowl moved a little bit, just to help give the other silverware some space to fit in there. Now I'm drying off my hands because I am finished. So what I need to do is come back over here and turn off my water. And I will start on those, but we don't have to worry about taking care of that right now. Alright, well thank you so much. I hope this helps. Have a good one.